Hello and welcome to the Greater Reston Living Podcast, the one and only podcast covering all of the happenings in Reston and Herndon. I'm Graham Tracy.
And I'm Kathy.
And I guess you could say some say we're the voice of Reston. So, Kathy, we got a lot to talk about today.
We do.
Our big story of the day, we're going to be asking the question, are the owners of Reston National Golf Course going to get away with it this time? Because they reared their head. Keeps coming up. So hold up. We'll get to that. We'll get to all the details. So that's the big question of the day. But we do have lots happening, especially tons of stuff happening in April. I think spring has finally sprung around here, and there's something happening just about every weekend in Reston in April. What do we have going on? Actually, on Saturday. This Saturday.
Tomorrow.
But it'll be
April
coming.
11th.
If you're watching this video, it's today because we're going to get it out tomorrow.
Yeah. So over at Lake Ann is the All Abilities Block Party from 11 to 2 p.m. So this is by Gabriel Holmes, and it's to promote inclusion for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and to just promote awareness. So that should be fun over at Lake Ann.
That's cool. That's a different kind of block party that we've experienced over there. But the Lake Ann area is a great place to host a block party. This also, Kathy, it reminds me of something you used to do before your real estate days, even before your raising kids days, when you were a social worker.
Yes, my degree is in social work. I really enjoy talking and being with people. But I used to work at a DID lake over in Manassas that worked with developmentally disabled adults, and they gave them jobs. They worked in a mailroom. So I did that for a couple of years until my little kiddos came along.
So it sounds but it sounds like it was
a mom.
Almost the same kind of business or yes. Organization as this Gabriel Holmes hosting this block party. Mm-hmm. So yeah, cool. Hope it turns out well tomorrow for them. I think the weather's supposed to be good. And later on in the month, we also have Reston's 62nd birthday. What are we now?
Well, it's now called Celebrate Fairfax, but it is
Celebrate Reston.
Sorry.
Not Fairfax.
Celebrate Reston.
Fairfax is hundreds of years old.
My poor brain.
Fairfax is a few hundred years old.
Celebrate Reston. Thank you for correcting me.
That's all right.
Celebrate Reston, which is former Founders Day, and it's the 62nd Founders Day. Celebrate Reston. Live, work, play. Bob Simon's way.
Yeah.
And that's over at Lake Ann.
So it's another block party at Lake Ann, right?
Yes.
In a sense.
But that's Saturday, April 18th from noon to 4.
And they're going to have, vendors over there. They have booths and tents, and they're going to have some entertainment, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm
trying to remember back to some old Founders Days that we used to go to.
We've been there for the last couple of years, but there's going to be community performances. There's a book fair with local authors, and I met several of my friends there who are authors. And organization of vendors, exhibits, and family-friendly activities. So it will be fun.
Okay. And if people want to keep track of all of these things, just a little plug for our newsletter, because we're covering all of these things. The block party was in our newsletter this week, and we're going to cover the other items as well. We list all the events happening in Reston and Herndon. Mm-hmm. Another one also, Earth Day with a little twist, right?
Yes. So Tefra and Public Art Reston is doing a chalk fest for Earth Day, and that's coming on April 25th. Is that it? April 25th?
Sounds about right.
Yeah, that's the next Saturday. Oh, yeah, April 25th. So that should be fun because I only knew about the chalk fest in the fall in October. Apparently, they tried to do this last year because I was talking with my public art girl, but it got rained out. So they had people do chalk from their house in their driveway. So they're hoping for nicer weather this year. but it will be another fun event this one's at Reston Town Center.
Yeah.
So they'll have face painting for the kids. They'll have live music and poem readings and other family-friendly activities. But also, if you want to register, you have to register to do the chalk drawings, masterpieces, creations from 1 to 4. And the winners are going to be announced at 5.
So that's going to be fun. I think they're doing other things for Earth Day too, right? Like recycling and all of that. I think that's out there on the Reston Town Center website,
We'll
event
link
page.
it.
Yeah.
We'll link it.
Well, it'll be in our newsletter. That's what they should be doing.
It will
Finding
be
it in the newsletter.
in our newsletter.
Ding, ding, ding. Okay. Another bit and bite, as we call them, before we get into our big story. And this one actually is a big story too, but we've been covering it over and over, which is the casino fight, the Fairfax County casino fight, right? First, we thought maybe it would show up in Reston. Then we thought it would go to Tyson's. Then we thought it was dead. Then we thought, oh, here it comes again, a year later, and it's back on the table. And then what happened? We had the legislature came back into session this year, and sure enough, they passed the casino legislation in both the House and the Virginia Senate. Well, went to Abigail Spanberger, Governor Abigail Spanberger's desk. We were all wondering what she was going to do, and lo and behold, she vetoed it. And I got to tell you, I was a little surprised. What do you think? Because she's a Democrat, and I'm not getting into politics, but the fact of the matter is, usually the Democratic leader goes along with what the Democratic legislature does. And in this case, she vetoed it. What do you think, Kathy? Good? Bad?
I think it's good that it's vetoed.
Yeah.
That's about all I'm going to say because I don't want to get into it all.
Oh my goodness. Come on, let's get off the fence on this one.
Oh, Graham Tracy, tell me what you think. Are you happy that it was vetoed? Let me know. Okay.
I am. I'm glad to see it's been vetoed. And I think the key thing here is, and it was pretty smart of the governor in terms of the reasoning behind it. It wasn't just simply, I don't like casinos on her part. It was essentially, hey, look, this legislation went through without the Fairfax County board being involved in it. And actually, they rejected this. They did not want this to happen. So she's saying, look, the rest of Virginia can't just force this on Fairfax County. And I mean, she's essentially saying this should be the case for any county, right? Like that your particular local area should have a say in what ends up in that area.
And we know that the people have spoken in the area and they don't want it.
They don't want it. We know Restonians mostly don't want it. People in Tyson's mostly don't want it. People in Fairfax County mostly don't want it. Of course, there are some who do, and I get it, but
the majority don't.
The majority don't. And the other reason she mentioned, though, which was interesting, was essentially saying, look, there's no central commission in Virginia that's regulating the casino. So casino growth has happened in the rest of Virginia and other areas, but there's been so much growth without much regulation. It's time to take a look at that and see if there's a central authority, governmental authority that should start regulating these things. And so before those two conditions happen, she's not for it. So she finally weighed in. I think it was for some. All right. Now, another controversy. Let's get into our big story. Another controversy for Reston that keeps rearing its ugly head.
It just won't die.
This won't die. We keep asking the question, are the owners of Reston National Golf Course going to get away with the redevelopment that they keep proposing and that the Restonians keep rejecting? And this has happened now dozens and dozens of times. Well, I don't know. It feels like dozens of times. Several times we've seen plans get put forth and then squashed. Kathy, give us an overview of what's going on over there. There were two plans that I think the developer put forth.
Yes, two plans. The primary plan seeks to construct 288 townhouse units on about 14 of the existing acres. So that's plan 1. Plan 2 is the developers have proposed a more comprehensive rezoning that would convert the entire 166-acre golf course into mixed-use environment. Under the scenario, 86 acres would be redeveloped into residential clusters, while the remaining 80 acres would be preserved as permanent public park. So the green space everybody wants.
Yeah, except that they don't want it sandwiched in between all of these townhomes, I think, right? That's the only problem. So this is all laid out nicely, I think, in the Reston patch for anybody who wants to dig into this a little bit more.
Well, I want to just say the Mark Looney, who is the attorney representing the owners of the golf course, said, so he's saying that the nearly 60-year-old golf course is no longer financially viable. And he says that the facility requires substantial reinvestment. The aging infrastructure is awful, and for it to remain operational. And the current business model, it can't support it. So that's what they're saying, why they're looking at plan 1 and plan 2.
Yeah, so that's an interesting one. And we did cover this one well before. And I'm not surprised that lawyer is saying that, because we covered this, almost a year ago on our blog about the debate heating up around this. And if memory serves me, the issue is, yes, I'm not surprised that the business model does not support it. That's because the owners of Reston National Golf Course, when they purchased Reston National Golf Course, they purchased it at a pretty gigantic premium because they assumed that they would be able to redevelop the land. They never intended to run a golf course. If the golf course were priced at the price of a golf course for other golf course owners to run, then it would have cost a lot less. But the land was priced for redevelopment, and they took a giant risk. And so it's no wonder why they're not able to get the revenue from the golf course to offset how much they paid for this land. So that's why they keep pushing over and over these different plans that they want to put forth so that they can recoup their initial investment. And I think this is, their sort of last stand, so to speak, because they're invoking a rule or a zoning law from 1966. If I get down to the bottom of this patch article, so the patch has a nice little history of this whole thing laid out on this article. So I really encourage people to get out there and take a look. We're not going to dive into everything, but they are essentially holding up these 1966 zoning decisions that got made for a particular parcel of land, set of land, where they can build those, 288 townhomes that they're suggesting?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is where that would be, right? So if we're looking at this map, we're looking at the Reston National Golf Course. This is Reston Parkway all the way here on the left. Mm-hmm. This is Sunrise Valley. Always got to think sunrise versus sunset, right? So Sunrise in South Reston, just south of the toll road. So Reston National Golf Course entrance right here near Colts Neck Road. And I believe that this plan for these their plan A that you mentioned, the one for 288 townhomes, is to develop the land right near that entrance, which is on or along Colts Neck Road. And then they would also build another plot of land, another little cluster. And this one is off of, I forget the name of this road over here. I thought it was maybe like Golf Course Drive or something like that. We'll have to take a look. But essentially, these two little plots of land in their proposal, and this would basically not even impact the golf course itself very much at all, because you can see all of these golf course, the golf holes and fairways and everything are really laid out still and kind of twist around these two plots. So this is what they're trying to do. And otherwise, they were looking at doing, a complete redevelopment. That's their option B. What they would really like to do, of course, down to maybe 9 holes and redevelop that larger portion like you were describing. Once again, I think Restonians are going to get up in arms about this. I haven't seen any chatter yet about it because it's still kind of a surprise that this came out. But it does feel like they're looking for loopholes, and they're not giving up because it's a lot of money that they invested.
They did, yeah.
What do you think about those townhomes if they were to develop that area?
I feel like it's just going to change the landscape of, what it is right now. And there's a lot of homes, like we do a lot of work in Reston, that back to the golf course. So I think the homeowners are not going to like that because they bought a house with a golf course and now it's going to be something different.
Yeah. And I think I'm just trying to pull up a map of the area. It just occurred to me, I wanted to show some differences here. As real estate agents, one of the things that we tout a lot when people are looking at townhome clusters in particular in Reston is the fact that Reston in particular, South Reston, also has tons and tons of trees. And one of the things you'll notice, I'm just zooming in on some of the townhouse clusters near the golf course in South Reston. And you can see how they are all situated in and amongst the trees. They don't tend to be clear-cut areas with hundreds of townhomes. There are dozens of townhomes in these clusters, and they're curved roads, or, offshoots and side roads and things like that, so that each of the homes has a view of woods or of water or of open space
greenery
of some kind, greenery of some kind. That's one of the beauties of living in Reston. And look, townhome cluster after townhome cluster kind of matches those ideals. And then when you look at what they're trying to do, and this has been true for all of the newer developments. So I go back to our map here. Everything is just jammed up and they're all looking at one another instead of looking at greenery, except for maybe the people that are lined up along the golf course, which they might get a nice view. But everybody else is going to be looking at everybody else's back decks. And that's one of the differentiators in Reston typically. And it goes back to one of the founding principles of Robert E. Simon, which was, and I don't have the phrase exactly right, but, essentially the integration of nature into the way one lives. And the townhouse cluster designs kind of matched that before, but the newer versions of them definitely are not, because even if they're nice homes.
We see that in the newer townhomes when we've seen the new construction. They're not necessarily backing to the green space, which is, what Reston is known for. So,
yeah. So,
yeah,
I'm worried about this this new development. I guess some of the developments with townhomes are a little bit more urban core oriented. So maybe it's a little less people in the urban core expect to be able to see one another, I guess. But if you're buying a townhome in the Tree City portion of Reston, you're probably going to want to get a tree line view. So,
yeah. So with that also being said, Hunter Mill District Supervisor, our friend Walter Alcorn, he has said he will not support the change without the community consensus. So,
okay, good for him. Obviously,
yeah,
it should be with community consensus, not just happening because a developer wants to do it. Also like to see, even if they are going to do it, I'd like to see some more inspired plans. Anyway, anything else on the Reston National Development? We're going to have to just keep a vigilant eye on it. We'll bring new stories as they develop around that. Let's call it a wrap, Kathy. And we talked about all of these great events. So I just want to remind everybody out there, hey, join our Reston Insider newsletter because we cover all of these things. We bring you and remind you when we have these podcasts. We have lots of video content, blog posts, and other news that's happening that we're covering all the time, and all of those events as well. So sign up for the Reston Insider. like this video, and yeah, leave us a comment. We'd love to know what you're thinking out there as well. That's a wrap. See you, Reston.